Today we are going over how to hand trap 3 of the most popular decks for the upcoming YCSs, and the first one we are going to go over is the Ryzeal Fiendsmith strategy. The first card is Duo Drive. You pretty much want to stop this card every time as its payoff is so huge, and you'll be able to add a negate for a hand trap anyways, besides a card like Imperm, but then they can set up Twins of the Eclipse, which can beat Imperm anyways. So if you have any of these hand traps, you pretty much always want to stop the Duo Drive. Now for the Fiendsmith part, Ash on Requiem is very good, but if they lead with the Engraver, you want to Ash the Tract instead to prevent them from getting a Light Fiend in graveyard, or they can still summon back the Engraver and make a Necroquip Princess, which will still give them value later on. If you have Bestial Magma Mutt specifically, you can use it on the Engraver's graveyard effect, but if you just have something else, like Druis Worm, you want to use it to stop the Requiem, and that will also prevent them from getting access to the Fiendsmith and Paradise the next turn, and it also stops the extra follow-up. If you Magma Mutt them, you can add Druis Worm at the end phase, and use it to banish the Requiem at the end phase, which will beat both parts of the engine. If you only have Nib, you want to drop it when they threaten you with a DDD Wave High King Caesar when they have these two level 6s on board. But if you have Nib plus Veiler / Imperm, you can wait until they summon the Duo Drive and wait till they summon the DDD, then you can rock the whole board, pretty much just putting them on have Ryzeal node. Now the next deck we're going to go over is the Ryzeal Mitsurugi deck. This deck can play through a lot of hand traps, so it can be very hard to stop them. If you have something like Ash Blossom, there's a lot of different cards you can hit. The first one is SUDA. You can hit this to try to stop them from getting access to the ritual spell. You can stop Bonfire to stop them from getting access to X, as this will also get them to SUDA later on. But if you Ash something like Bonfire, you could very well just get punished by a Ryzeal X. You can also Ash something like Nadir's Servant. This card is very strong, getting them access to be able to search a ritual spell or ritual monster and allowing them to draw 2 cards. They do have to put back 1, but this card is very, very strong at getting to the Mitsurugi stuff. And the last card is Ice Ryzeal. If you Ash Blossom this when they normal summon it, it's very hard for them to get to SUDA later on, and this can also just stop their plays completely. If they have something like Nadir's Servant to keep extending there though, and they happen to have a ritual monster, a ritual spell in hand already, you probably just were never stopping your opponent anyways, and they were going to get the combo anyhow. If you have a Veiler or Imperm, you can hit the SUDA to try to cut them off of the ritual spell, or if they start with Ice, you can also go ahead and stop that for the reasons I just explained before. If you have Nib, you can Nib at a spot that looks like this, right after they just resolved the Twins of the Eclipse effect to summon back. If you have a Bestial, you have 2 spots you can use it. One is here, when they try to resolve the Twins of the Eclipse effect, summoning back the King of the Feral Limbs. And the second is here when they tribute Omno for the ritual spell to summon out from the deck. Take note though that if they haven't used prayers this turn, they can chain prayer to keep the Omno in the graveyard safe by summoning it back out in response to the Bestial. Or if they summon out a second Omno off the ritual spell, the Bestial won't actually do too much. Now the last deck we're going to go over is the Maliss strategy. If you have Ash Blossom, you can try to stop the cat if it's their leading push and pray that it's enough. You can also save it for your turn to try to hit the MTP07. But if you try to save Ash for your turn for the MTP07, take note that they will have a end board next to the MTP07. So maybe if you're trying to save Ash for MTP07, you had other hand traps to make their board smaller, and then you have Ash for MTP07 on your turn. If they start with the lure, you can also consider stopping that to prevent them from drawing into more pushes / non-engine to stop you next turn. Veiler and Imperm are pretty weak versus Maliss a decent amount of the time, but you can try to high roll them and stop their first play and hope that it's enough. You can go ahead and stop any of these monsters and just pray they don't have something like a Bestial or a field spell, something to extend with. If you have a Bestial, the best place to use it is when they try to Splash Mage summon back out a Maliss from the graveyard that they've already used that turn, but that normally only comes up if you hand trap them already, or you can use it when they try to activate a Abawa effect to try to summon back out the IP from the graveyard. The Abawa does not target, so they will still summon something else back from the graveyard, but you can cut them off of the IP Masquerena access. Nib versus Maliss, you want to try to keep them off the link 3s if possible, but if you can't do that, Most Maliss players are trash anyways, and they will play into it at some point in the duel, so don't feel bad if you can't prevent them from making a Link 3 with it. Same with Nib. You want to ogre a Link 2 if possible to keep them off of a Link 3. You can also use it to stop IP effect, or you can use it to destroy a Bawa when they try to summon back out from the graveyard. In general, hand traps aren't as easy to use as black and white, and that's why technical play comes into effect a lot of the times, and you need to practice and find the best times to use these hand traps. It's not as simple as just listening to this video and knowing exactly how to use them now. Also, I wanted to give shoutouts to GGYGO. I stole the idea from him, and also shout out to Moa Master Duel, as I took a lot of inspiration from their video to make this one. And with that being said, the DB Grinders signing off. Peace, have a nice day, stay safe.